I think it's right around the same, isn't it? Can you hear us, Jennifer?
Okay,
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
a little more.
Can you hear us, Jennifer?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
100%.
Is it?
Yeah,
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
they're trying to balance it. I think they actually, it's going down. Not very much.
Miguel.
Jennifer, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, he picked it.
I can hear you guys loud and clear. Wonder if it's me.
How did the sound? There we go.
Sound
Maybe maybe there's something wrong with that mic. We're talking to that. Jennifer,
Yep. Can you hear me?
Jennifer, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
And now she should be able to hear you.
She's
Oh,
she said she can hear it.
Okay, check it.
Doesn't look like you can hear it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that would be TV.
Turn that up.
TV speaker. Headphones.
Yeah, I don't know which one it's a different list though.
Jennifer, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
There we go.
Can
Perfect.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
I can hear you guys the whole time, but you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, it's the speaker setting on here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad I called you earlier.
If you want me close.
Yeah, that'd be great if you don't mind. Thank you.
Don't want to stick it out.
For a minute there, I thought you didn't want to talk to us, Jennifer.
No, I want to talk to you guys. I look forward to these meetings every month.
Hey, Jennifer, I just sent you an email too. It has there's no there's no words in it, but it has the RFP, RFQ, and it also has the 2023 operating budget in it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when we start talking about those, can you share your screen with those and pull those up?
Absolutely. Yeah, let me get that pulled up.
So thank you. Here you go.
I'll give you a confirm. I saw somebody drive that by.
Christy was supposed to be here. I'm sure Jesse's gonna come too. Let's here. Gal's here. We can drive Robert's mic out. Might even hand most of this over to you, honestly. Just say what we're thinking about doing. And this is a schedule. Try to create that too in case you want to run over the schedule. Okay, welcome everybody. We actually have just a quorum here. Might even get another one or two coming in here a little bit late, but let's get started. Being respectful of everybody's time here. So the time is 1:31. Call the STRGBA meeting to order. And okay. Welcome, everybody. From the city of Modesto, we have Miguel here. City of Waterford, we have Mike. OID, I'm here, Eric. And from Stanislaus County, we have Christy McKinnon here. Thanks for joining us, everybody. So we'll just move right into number 2. So business from the public. Interested persons at this time are welcome to introduce any topic within the agency's jurisdiction. Matters presented under this heading may be discussed, but no action will be taken by the agency at this meeting. So we'll open it up for business from the public. Anything not on the agenda.
No hands are raised.
Alrighty. Thank you. So topic number 3, moving right along on the March 29th meeting minutes. Assuming everybody's had a chance to review those, I'll entertain a motion.
I can make a motion.
Motion by Christie. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. At this time, I'll entertain any public comment on the meeting minutes, March 29th meeting minutes.
No hands are raised.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Item number 4. This is the RFP and RFQ for consultant services, the GSP and the annual reports. So we've had Todd Groundwater and Woodard Curran helping us along the way since we started this whole process. They helped us with the GSP, they drafted GSP, they've drafted all of our annual reports, finalized those for us. They've done a great job with that. According to the city of Modesto's policy, they need to go out every couple of years. It's been, about 4 or 5 years at this point. So I think they would like to go out. I've heard the same concern from some of the other cities. So this is a proposal that Miguel has drafted up. City of Modesto staff, thank you for doing all that, put the legwork in to get that done. Jennifer, if you don't mind sharing the screen with us. I sent you this document just in case anybody from the public wants to look at the schedule while I'm going through it. Might be easier to follow along.
Okay.
So on page 10 of 13, there's a schedule there. That's the budget. We'll go over that
Oh, this
next.
is the budget. Okay.
Yeah.
Want the
So the intent is to have proposals and the qualifications, listed qualifications from consultants that are interested in helping us with the next several annual reports, but also the GSP. And then in about 5 years' time, I think it was, we're going to go back out potentially and do this again. You have anything to add to that, Miguel?
Yes, well, the only thing I was gonna mention, we were gonna do about 6 annual reports and a GSP update, giving us some time to go out again and do the RFP process again to satisfy the city requirements. You'll have a schedule there on page 10. Once it gets up, it's a tentative schedule right now. We'll try to keep it as close to it as possible. If anybody has any questions?
So,
No, so the first thing would be the first item, where we're trying to send it out to our Planet Bid process. So all consultants that are signed up with our Planet Bid will be notified about this RFQ, RFP out there, and they'll be able to submit a proposal and qualifications for us to review. Once
So
it's
it's big time schedule, July 11th, not too far away.
Yeah.
So like I said, this is tentative. We'll probably push out a little bit to meet it.
Yeah, and the intent is to get somebody in place so that they could potentially be ready to go for this annual report. And that would be really tight if, let's say, Todd didn't get it, Woodard didn't get it, then you have a little bit of a learning curve there and some things that needed to get in place before they could start hitting the ground with that first annual report. Still working on pulling that up for us, Jennifer?
my screen sharing. You can't see it?
Oh, we just see the operating budget still.
Oh, no, I have it up on the page 10. Let me see if there's something different way. Okay. What about now?
There we go. Now we can see
Okay.
it.
So the first date there would be, sending it out to plan and bid. The second one would be the date we would expect the consultants to turn them in back. The third date of July 26th, we should have our review proposals by then and made our selections. And taking the item to our first committee review with city council would be for October 2nd. And then having city council award a contract for November 7th. So we shortly after, usually it takes a couple of weeks, we should have documents signed, contract signed, be able to kick off the project later in November.
So you guys should have all received an email a couple weeks ago with this draft. We received a couple comments back. Nothing's substantive to change this. So today it's just a discussion item to make sure that everybody's kind of on board to move forward with getting this document out in the streets as proposed through the schedule, the draft schedule here. What would happen then, bring it back, and like you said, he's got the schedule listed out. So we'd have a scoring card where everybody would have input on all the proposals that were received. Let the note show too that and the record show that Jesse just joined us from MID. But yeah, so everybody would get a chance to look at the proposals and the qualifications and score it, and then we would reconvene, look at the scores, probably bring it to a TAC meeting just to review all that stuff and come back with a final recommendation for the full board here to approve and move forward with a formal proposal from them. We're just going over the RFQ, just missed a minute, so you're in good shape here. And you got a chance to look at that already. So with that, are there any questions, comments, concerns about getting this out on the street from the member agencies here? Okay. We'll open up to public comment. Any comments from the public on this?
No comments. No hands are raised.
Okay. All right. Well, we will get this out. Thanks again for your help, Miguel, and staff there at the City of Modesto for getting that together. Start that process. Nope, it's just discussion. Yep, as long as there was no qualms with moving forward, we're good. So we'll move forward. Like I said, we'll move it forward, and then once we get the proposals going, we'll come back for formal action to award the contract. Okay, topic number 5 is the budget update. So this again, I handed out here. You might want to grab one. There's copies there for you if you'd like. So I've got a copy of last year's budget here, the 2023 budget. So I wanted to kind of just run through those items with you all. Try to get a budget in place here early June. But I don't think there's any huge rush to get it done. I'd like to just discuss it first and then bring it back next meeting for a formal approval. So right now it's just for discussion. So going down from the top here, and thanks, Jennifer. Jennifer's got it shared on the screen for everybody on the call to hopefully look at with us. So going from the top there, administration. We've all been doing administration in-house, in kind. So MID puts a lot of staff effort from their staff to get these agendas together, and Jennifer's on the phone helping us with the Zoom call and everything like that. OID is doing some things, getting these meetings done and facilitating it. Miguel, like I said, talked about his staff getting that stuff done, but we're not billing that stuff to our account. So the administration is really there to cover those costs if there are things that come up. But the plan right now, from my perspective, I think, and unless we hear otherwise, is going to be to continue to do those services in kind. I would propose that we keep that in the budget, but maybe not 10,000, maybe go down to 5,000 because we're not really using that 10,000 each year. So I'd just say keep it on there, but just decrease it. It's kind of what I'm thinking. And as I go along, stop me if you have any other questions or comments on any of this stuff. But I'm kind of going to run through it. We went through this a little bit at our TAC planning meeting and had a little bit of a discussion. So I'm just going to tell you where we kind of landed, and then I want to get some input from you all. Annual report. So the annual report last year or this year, but the last water year ended up costing us closer to about $150,000. So I think there's a couple of items in that annual report that we wouldn't have to do again this year necessarily, but I think it's safer to err on the side of just assuming that it's going to cost us that 150 again. So I would propose we change that to 75 and bump it up to 150 this year just to make sure that we cover those costs. One thing that's not on here, keep moving down the list, but one thing that's not in this is the potential cost that we will have to respond to any comments if there are any that need to be addressed from DWR on our most recent GSV submittal. We don't know what those are going to be. We don't have a cost for those. So I think it would be good to add in a line item so that we know what's coming, but maybe just put a to be determined TBD there. Maybe not put any money towards it, but know that we're going to have that here soon. And again, once we do our GSP, it's going to pop up again. So I don't necessarily think we need to put anything in the budget for it right now. Grant proposal preparation, we had $25,000 in there. That was in case we wanted to do any projects together as a GSA in the basin. We haven't done that. We didn't do that last year or this past round of grant funding. Thankful for everybody's support. We were able to be awarded $14.3 million, which was amazing here at OID for the Paul Cell expansion project. So we put all of our eggs in that basket. I don't think we'll need to have $25,000 in there for a grant moving forward in this next year. But again, I'm not opposed to pulling that off or having it stay on rather, but I don't think we need to necessarily allocate funding towards it. And I'll kind of go down the list and tell you what else we're thinking. This is kind of a goal setting and discussion for this coming up year at the same time. So if there's something you want to include that we aren't, then I want to hear that. I think it's important to hear that before we get this final budget in place. But kind of moving down the list, I'll touch on that again. Insurance, that's an annual cost. I don't know if Jesse looked at that or not. $1,500, I think, is what we ended up paying last year. We're assuming that's going to be the same. Okay, so we'll keep that in place. That'll be a recurring cost. Legal and auditing, we didn't have any legal fees this year. Luckily, knock on wood. We don't anticipate having any this coming year, but it's always good to have some budget in place for that. So I proposed, at the planning group, we proposed keeping that in place to make sure we had funds if and when the need arose. The model update, we won't have to do that this year. Well, that won't be necessary until the GSP. So that would come off. Monitoring wells, and really another item that's not on here, but kind of is in a similar category is GDE verification, groundwater dependent ecosystems. So we do need to get one of the data gaps, or the two of the data gaps that we have are in our monitoring network and also in really our GDEs, and understanding the ones that were mapped, are they in fact GDEs or not. We're early on in implementation. We've got some pretty good data. We did put some monitoring wells in place here not too long ago, expanded that network. So I would propose that we hold off on doing anything this year and really focus on the public outreach aspect of things. So I think that it would be good, and we talked about this at the planning committee, to put line items in there for monitoring wells and for GDE verification, but really allocate no money towards them. But then it reminds us next year when we pull up this 2020 in 2024, we pull up this year's operating budget, we'll be looking back and saying, oh, maybe we should allocate some funds to that and really start making progress. So that's my thought on it. Again, open for discussion on all of these things. Public outreach, we've started the non-district use workshops, Christy, and so we had the one. I think we're potentially thinking about having 3, right?
Yeah, I think we were discussing having the second one before November 15th, so in the early part of November.
Yep.
And we were discussing using that as a time to again cover the information that was compiled in the annual report and have some further discussion on what that means to the sub-basin as a whole.
Yep.
And then the third workshop, I believe we were considering starting that early 2024, and that would be. kind of-
Yeah, next year.
Okay, kind of for annual outreach event.
Yep. So we'll need some money in there for that. And the second thing we're gonna talk about that we're gonna really talk about management actions and what's happening in other places. So we might end up trying to get some other people to help with that, but there will be I would expect that we'll have more costs this year for that. And then also some next year for some public outreach events. So I think at least the 5,000, I wouldn't be opposed to bumping that up to 10, just in case there's some other stuff we want to do. Really want to get the word out to the non-district East folks, make sure they have this opportunity early on to get those projects done, get some representation if they want more representation, specific representation outside the county, and get those things in order. So getting the word out there, I think, is important next year. So I thought that'd be more of a focus that we want to take before we really start trying to make a lot of headway on the GD verification wiring wells. Additionally, we'll obviously have OID, at least we'll be making headway on the project to try and get some water to make that water available that we have in surplus in years when we have it available to those out-of-district lands. MID, I think, maybe in similar discussions. So I think that's a better early focus to play along with those projects that need to be done in that non-district East.
And then really quickly,
Yeah.
on the outreach note, I just wanted to announce that the Turlock Sub-Basin, they're gonna have their 4th pumping management framework workshop coming up on June 27th. So anyone who's interested, or if you want to share the word to anybody who might be, I think it's important just to kind of follow along with the progress
Yep.
for the management actions in that sub-basin.
Yeah, and that's the East Turlock GSA, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, website maintenance, MID takes care of that. I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't think we built anything to that last year. There's been some stuff that we've continued to post on there. I'm not opposed to leaving some money in there if we think that there's some things that we want to do. It's always good to leave that as a line item in case there's updates we want to make. So maybe we leave that alone. Okay, and then DMS, again, this is another, we have a DMS in place right now. We're meeting the regulations, the requirements. I don't know that we really there's a need for investing further in our data management system. So my proposal again on this, I would say we take this down to 0 and just leave it there as a line item to consider, and so we don't forget about it in the future. So that's all I had. If there's anything else anybody wants to add or change or increase, decrease from there? I was thinking going from 5 to 10. Yeah. The other thing we're not showing on here is what we were carrying over from last year. So we'll want to look at that number and then this total. I don't know that we need to, we can talk about whether we want to have some reserve or contingency in that account and keep that available to us, but whatever the total is, we'll want to take that into consideration the next meeting. So any other comments from member agencies here, comments, questions?
I mean, so far, I think these are pretty good recommendations. I think the only one I would have some questions just kind of look at is the grant proposal preparation, just to see what we would, as a group, if there's any plans we have towards that.
I haven't heard of anything specific coming available. There might be another grant opportunity released in the future, but I haven't heard of anything specific. A lot of the projects that we would probably do together would be like that, the monitoring wells or a GD verification or even DMS, but probably the higher priority is the monitoring wells with the GD verification. But again, I haven't heard of anything available. We can leave that 25 in there in case we want to use it. I'm not opposed to that, just in case something comes up. The other thing is, like, for the grant that we just did, the application we did, OID paid for that too, so it doesn't preclude anybody from doing their own grant and then just getting support from the group, and then we would pull from that 25. But yeah, I'm all for leaving the 25 in if everybody's comfortable with that, just in case something comes up. Anything else? Okay. We'll open it up to the public for public comment on the proposed budget.
No hands are raised.
Thanks, Jennifer. Okay. Very good. So just last few things, next meeting, plan on meeting on the 12th of July. So I'd expect to bring back the budget for approval at that meeting. Amongst other things, so we'll see you all here again. That'll be, we'll offer Zoom as well, 1:30 on July 12th. And then again, opportunity for the public to be here as well at Oakdale Irrigation District 1205 East F Street. Comments, questions on that? Comments, questions on the next meeting from the public? Okay. Are there any items too late for the agenda?
MID would just like to provide informational item. We are scheduling a workshop on June 26th at 6 p.m. The MID downtown office on 11th Street. The workshops regarding groundwater replenishment program. It's a program that we are considering as a long-term program, which would provide excess water to growers that are basically outside our boundary, but within the sphere influence. And so this would help in terms of stigma and providing water and helping their pumping efforts in those areas.
Do you have any draft terms or anything put together on that yet?
At this point, we have just basically just the basic framework of it. So that's what we're fighting. So the growers or those that are peer influence, if they want to attend, provide some comments, we'll outline kind of some of the basic term points on it.
Is there a timeline yet at all on that framework? Is it like a period? Is it 10 years or similar to our 10-year program? Is there a term
Right
that
now,
they're thinking of right now?
Tentatively looking at 20-year program. I would start this if it's about more.
And I think during the GSP, the projects, the high level potential project talked about water being available in above normal wet years only though, right?
Right.
Is that sort of the idea? Okay, good. That's great. Hope that goes well. Anything else? No? All right, quick one.
We have
We'll
one,
adjourn. Thank you very much.
we have one hand raised.
Okay,
Um,
great.
and Jesse, if it's a question for you, could you maybe move closer to the mic? Towards the
Mic.
end there, it was a little bit hard hearing you.
One more time. There you go. Yep. Okay, is that Stacy?
Yes, hi, Eric. Thanks very much. I just have a really quick question. I attended the MID meeting yesterday, and I know that they're continuing to work to develop terms and conditions for the program. And one of the biggest concerns for my clients is the rate per acre foot of water. And I know that you guys at OID have a $200 per acre foot base and then other terms and conditions surrounding that, including an escalator. I was just hoping you could share with the group how OID came up with that $200 per acre foot.
Yeah, sure. So I'll speak to that briefly. So the OID program is a 10-year program, and the main reason for the $200 an acre foot, and one of the biggest differences is that we have water outside of, not only in above normal and wet years when it seems like everybody has water. We have water in all years except for critical years rather. So it's every year water. And so the $200 an acre foot is more reflective of the water sale price that we would get here locally, otherwise, if we made it available otherwise to others. So we like to make it available here locally out of district first. And if there's interest there, let them get their shot at it. And then we would go outside, local, and then outside beyond that. So the $200 is pretty much our market rate for a longer term contract. And we've got a similar contract with Stockton East, for example. It's also $200 an acre foot. M&I is $300 an acre foot, I believe. Yeah, so I think if I recall correctly, I think MID was proposing to go a lower dollar amount, and that would be, in my opinion, I would think that'd be because it's available when water's a little cheaper and there aren't as many interested parties in it. So, but I can't speak for MID.
Sure, and I'm just trying to understand the market rate. I don't really know what the difference is between, I mean, if the water is available, the water is available, and the non-district east or any other person or grower in the white area needs to purchase the water, or they need to reduce pumping, so market rate is market rate, regardless of whether that's available every year or every other year. You're only paying when you take it, except to the extent that there's a standby fee. So I'm just trying to understand if you were developing that $200 based on market rate or some other factor. And I heard you say market rate, so I'll just trying to confirm. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's market rate for every year water. I mean, for most year water, I should say. Yeah, and when in a dry year, when there's not much water going around, that dollar amount goes up. You could see it go up to $300-400 easily. But in years when there's a lot of water available, that rate goes down significantly too. So that's the average water year rate that we have come up with. That's what the basis for that is.
Sorry, just one other question. I'm not aware of any other water that would be available to the non-district east other than OID and MID. Are you?
I don't know, I mean, there's other opportunities potentially for stormwater, I would think. But yeah, that's the only surface water in the basin.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I just have one quick question. So you said the $200, how does that align with like electrical costs? Is it still advantageous? Is it less expensive to use surface water in that sense than it is to pump your own water to make it so there's an incentive for them not to use their wells?
Right. Probably the easiest answer is $200 is more expensive than pumping it out of the ground, at least currently. But it also depends on where you are. Electrical rates will continue, we would expect electrical rates are going to continue to increase. So instead of having to pump it and lift it out of the ground and boost it, they would just be boosting it. And so if your depth to groundwater, if your groundwater depth is a lot deeper, you're going to be paying more to lift it out of the ground. So the extent of the difference is dependent on those circumstances. But I would say the easier answer is $200 is more than it would cost them to pump it out of the ground.
I was just curious because, a lot of these farmers, it's not going to be a dollar in their pocket. They're just going to get the least expensive. And so it could be just continue to the status quo, pump it out of the ground.
Yeah, and that's why the intent of the program is really to give the landowners an opportunity to take that water and keep their farming operations alive, because we already know that we're in overdraft. The non-district east is either going to have to pay to get water and come up with, utilize the supply that's available when it is available and pay for that water, or they're going to have to cut back. And that's really the management action discussion that we're going to have at the next workshop. And you're seeing it in the non-district east in that Turlock Basin. So when Christy brought up that workshop, I think it's really important that those landowners keep tabs on what's going on over there. And so in the next workshop, our intent is to, at a minimum, have them, that East Turlock GSA, hopefully get them to present at our workshop too, to let them know how close to home that's happening already and kind of what approach they're starting to take, because they're not as fortunate as the landowners in this basin to have an opportunity to take some excess surface water and have it available in years. So hopefully they're taking advantage of it. And right now, yeah, it's going to cost them more, but they might be able to sustain their operations long term. And there's an investment, there's a cost that they're putting into the infrastructure to get back to OID's system, for example. So yeah, it's a business decision, and hopefully those growers are seeing the future and thinking about their business in the future, and they're driving those numbers, you know. So good question. Any other discussion before we general discussion before we close out the meeting? All right, thank you very much. Everybody have a good day. We'll see you on the 12th of July at 1:30. Thank you.